getting stressed, having some weird stuff going on. And, oh, stomach pain, okay. And then she pulls up her shirt and she's covered in, like, not covered, but she has some pretty severe bruising going on her stomach area. And the doctor's just like, you can see she makes a very concerned look at the gal. And this is once again after she'd put on the necklace, she did that, like, boom, landing on the ground too, and just staring up, and has been drug at one point in time across the floor. But the doctor just kind of presses around and, no, none of that hurts. Okay, well, run another test here. Oh, you're pregnant. But she doesn't have a welfare check go with the lady. If you show up in the hospital, you're complaining about, like, stomach pains, and you would at least ask, like, did you, how did you acquire these bruises? Because these are some pretty goddamn big bruises. And she did nothing. She didn't even, like, she looked at them, like, really worried, and then she just completely dropped it. It was like, "Oh, you're pregnant, so I guess having a very bruised abdomen doesn't mean anything anymore."
No, honestly, I'd fallen and I was bruised, and I went in and found out I was pregnant. Her first question was, "Did he hurt you?" And I'm like, "No, I fell off the porch of my own clumsiness."
Yeah,
But
I
she
mean,
was too small to be hurt because she was not even pea size yet. So,
yeah, it's just there should have been, I think it would have taken a minute more to have that conversation with the doctor and just be like, yeah, or be like, "No, I just walk around with my lights off all the time, so I fucking walk into things. They just didn't show that on camera." I don't know. But yeah, they go through, so everything keeps happening at night. The old lady shows up, like, standing in their apartment and every now and then, or in their house every now and then, um, for no reason, just standing there. They have fights and the wife doesn't remember things, what's going on. And the husband finally just throws the necklace out. And in the very, very end, she, like, co- she comes to get the necklace. He finds a box, or he finds the box on the floor, and the bottom has fallen out of the box. There was a false bottom, and it's full of pictures of a bunch of other couples and a newspaper article. Now we can't actually see what any of it says because it's in the fucking dark. And we can't really tell who these people are other than that they are pictures of couples that are biracial, because that's the only thing you can really tell, is that their skin colors seem different. It could have been like their wedding photographs because we can't see any differences or details on any of the photos. But yeah, so there's a newspaper article. I'm assuming it had to do with the intro part that we saw. Oh, and there was also at the very, very beginning somebody cleaning it up, hauling bodies out, and putting a for sale sign up in the at the very beginning. Um, but yeah, then he goes to find her, and her eyes are all rolled back in her head, and he gets thrown down the stairs. He finally uses his light on his phone to look around when he's waking up in the basement, and suddenly she's super possessed with vampire fangs, white eyes, fucked up face, everything, and attacks him. And he's like, "Don't make me kill you." He's holding a nail that he found on the floor. "Don't make me kill you." And she just, like, rips him to shreds. And then apparently, somehow, while that was going on, he stabbed her with the nail and it killed her. I didn't see that part, but she just laid down beside him and died. And it goes back and shows how the younger sister had chewed the shit out of the older sister back in the day as well. So how that, I don't know how they resolved that, because there still would have been the mom and the two brothers around for, I have no idea what was supposed to happen there. And then the old lady is looking through files with pictures of couples and deciding who she wants to rent the house out to next. And that's when we discover, like, oh, this is the whole thing all along, what she's been doing. But there's no explanation as to, like, how it worked with the necklace possessing her and then going on to other people. Maybe a little bit more is in the trinket box because they put the pictures in there, but it was still the necklace that did everything, not the box. And there's I think they just assume that we just are filling in the blanks in our head. Like I said before in build up, it's like, okay, so there are like 5 or 6 instances of something odd happening. So the crowd will get an idea. So they'll realize that, like, oh, there's probably a lot more that we aren't seeing that's happening. Because otherwise they wouldn't suddenly become so hostile towards each other. Or, oh my God, you have to go to the doctor because you forgot 2 conversations that we had, you know? And she also threw up a bunch of black shit that was really strange. Oh, morning sickness. And it's like, those were like leeches and things. And that's not right. I don't know what baby you carrying, but that's that's not a good sign. So that's my everything I disliked about this movie. And a lot of it was like, the whole movie, but mostly because it all took place in the dark, so we couldn't see anything that might have helped flesh out what was going on in the story. It might have been there, but you can't see it. Okay, I'm done.
Well, at least it wasn't flashing lights and epileptic seizures.
Okay, Ron, what do you have to say?
It was Agatha all along. Wow, where do I start with this? Because there's so much that I feel like I'm going to miss something. First off, the daughter sleeping with the black kid at the beginning, she mentions witches. Then they never go into it. That's it. That's the last you hear about it. If they had delved into that story more, you could have set up an entire explanation for this whole freaking movie, which they just didn't do. My my math skills ain't really mathing on this one. I want to say that they set up that the movie or the intro to the movie was back in the 20s. I could be wrong about that. It might have been the 30s. It might have been the 40s.
I think it was 1938.
1938. Okay, so it would have been during the Great Depression. Uh, the clothing that the people wore didn't quite fit the time period, but when you only got $150,000, you're probably not going to get totally period accurate. I can let that slide. It's very minimal in terms of anything else. Yeah. They should have just delved into the whole witch thing first, especially because the first part of the movie that set up the story is 20 minutes of the beginning of the movie to try to set up the backstory on what's happening in present day. But there's really no explanation other than this is just a racist family. Now, you could say that maybe this is, spirit attacking out of vengeance for what happened to the father because of a colored man. And you could have even gone that route. Okay. But you didn't do that either because apparently the necklace was already possessed by something even back then. It doesn't give an origin of the necklace or how it got to be the way it is. That could have explained so much in this movie.
Thank you.
Especially if they had connected it to the whole witches thing. If this had been a family of witches, then it would have made a hell of a lot more sense, but that's never explained. And it just, okay, whatever, And then, like my tagline says here, trope, there, trope, Dell touched on it, that pretty much everything in this movie is used in some other horror movie. It's basically, young couple move into a haunted house. Strange things starts happening. It's affecting one person and not the other, and it starts affecting their relationship. Same thing happened in Amityville, and probably a ton of other movies that you could think of. And you try to get to the root cause where they say, I don't like this house. It's, something's wrong with it. Yeah, you're just overreacting because you're pregnant or whatever, they just make up some bullshit. So my one problem with this movie is that there's nothing unique about it that you couldn't get from some other movie. There's nothing really to make it stand out as a horror movie, other than just the storyline itself, which I already went over. I thought that was a pretty bold choice. It's so much that really doesn't make sense in this movie because they didn't really flesh out the story. That if they had, this movie could have made a lot more sense. It's the kind of thing where maybe they need to come out with a sequel and call it like The Origin of the Necklace or The Secret of the Necklace, and then give a backstory, like maybe a prequel on how the necklace came to be possessed. And if you tie that into the first movie, then it really explains the first movie a lot. But, I don't know if this movie is actually good enough where they would make a sequel, but who knows? Because they've made sequels for less. Yeah, I mean, Mike was like the one character I really didn't have much of a problem with in this entire movie. They didn't do enough to set up Mike and Marianne's relationship as lovey-dovey. They have basically one sex scene.
Marianne is the neighbor.
Oh, the neighbor, whatever.
Ava is his wife.
Ava, okay, yeah. They didn't really do enough to set up their relationship as lovey-dovey, or indicate really how long they've been married, because she made some comment like that was 9 years ago, but they never explained what the incident was. We don't know what happened to Mike that caused him to be upset. They never explained it. So obviously they've been married for at least 9 years.
Or together.
Yeah. So, but we don't know. So was their relationship already on the rocks when they moved into this house? Or was this their chance for a fresh start to try to make things work out? The very first time Ava kind of blows up at Mike and she says that he's acting like a fucking child because it's just a necklace and he's being paranoid and all that shit. I thought that was really kind of out from left field, because up to this point, we haven't seen anything between them that would cause her to blow up the way that she did, other than, okay, she's just being corrupted by the necklace. But it was so blatant that it felt kind of out of character. Like there was no buildup. It just suddenly happened. And then after that point, anything else that she did, was fine because they had already gotten past that point. But it just like, whoa, okay, that was abrupt. Like, take a step back, take a chill pill, There was no build up to it. It just suddenly happened. And then, their relationship really kind of was on the rocks, and she starts losing time. She can't remember, brief periods of time and all that stuff. She has no idea what's going on. And it just sort of, it spirals downhill from there. And you just sort of along for the ride without really any explanation as to what's going on. And there's not really any explanation that says that it's all linked to the necklace. It just we's the audience kind of infer that because that's what the old lady gave to them at the beginning, which is kind of an odd gift. Most people bring pound cake. Here's a fruit cake from last Christmas that nobody's going to eat. Welcome to your new home, whatever. But a necklace, this lady has obviously thought this out because she obviously knows that the necklace is possessed and what's going to happen and whatnot, which, kind of sets up the end. But it's so completely random. And like Dell said, Ava is sort of leery about what the lady says. Do you need me to call the sheriff? But she doesn't tell that to her husband. So it's just, some things don't hold together very well, and some things require more explanation. And then when we get to the end of the movie and they introduce, I guess, the lady's grandson or something as the cleaner that comes in and has to deal with all the dead bodies and whatnot and clean the place up and then reset everything for the next biracial couple that comes in. It's like, he's so completely out of the blue. I think that there's some rule in movies that you're not supposed to introduce a pivotal character at the end of the movie.
I had something else with that too, now that you're mentioning it. Because, it starts with him cleaning up and then it goes back and shows the exact same scene again. But he plays this record, like, while he's cleaning. And then it shows him and he carries the record player out along with all the other stuff. And it's like, is there a significance to that song? Is there some reason that he has to bring in an old-fashioned record player? Because it's not like just some cool record. It's like this old-ass record player and play a certain song while he's cleaning up the house and then take it with him again when he goes. That was just weird too, I thought.
Part of the
Who
ritual.
knows? I mean, yeah, it could be. Maybe the record is, keeps the house in check while he's cleaning or something, so bad shit doesn't happen to him either. I don't know. Whatever.
Sorry to interrupt. That was when you
No,
said that, I was like, oh yeah,
yeah.
that bugged me too.
That's a really good point, and it's another kind of thing. It's such a quirky little thing, but there's no explanation for it whatsoever, just like everything else in this movie. This is the kind of thing where, okay, as a writer, you're writing your book, you're writing your short stories, whatever, and you write a certain part, and of course, you know what you're writing, you know what you're talking about, so it makes sense to you. But when somebody else reads it, they don't understand it because they can't see inside your mind how you're connecting the dots and why it makes sense to you, because you didn't give any explanation on that particular thing. So then the reader, your beta reader, reads it and goes, this doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about here? And then you have to explain it. And you're like, yeah, but you didn't write that. Like, oh, okay, well, this is what I need to add into the rewrite. This is what I need to add into the edit. But they didn't do that with this movie. It's all these quirky little moments that might make sense to the director, but doesn't make sense to anybody else because they're never explained. And that's sort of how I view this whole movie. Like, contiguously or plot wise, it all works, but when you start to analyze it, it starts to fall apart. And so it's neither here nor there. Like, as a movie, I can watch it and it's all right. There's some enjoyment aspect in it, but as a critic, it doesn't really sit well.
I'm trying to figure out if I can add to anything because you guys have hit all the things. This is another one of those movies where I'm like, okay, Ron, take a steno pad, write down the major plot points, and then let's go back and see what we can do to make it a story that makes more sense. Because as writers, I know we can do well, and as some people have found, I do actually give my stories to friends and have them help me figure it out. Like, if you get the newsletter tomorrow, I actually talked to somebody who works very closely with paramedics to make sure I got the paramedic part worked out properly. So, this is a thing that we all know about. This is what we could do better. So, yeah, I cannot add to what they have said, but we can tell you okay, we've done the what we like, what so how about we do the let's do some beautiful Faye and nostalgia footage and then come back and give our what our reviews are and all the other wonderful stuff that Dell has found for us for this.
Oh
And
boy.
go from
Oh God.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductibus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brick.
You can listen to Retro Redoctopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to the show. Let's see, Dell, what do you think and would you recommend? And how many trinkets, how many necklaces would you give this?
Okay. Film wise, I was going to give this like a 4. And then I'm subtracting an extra point just because I couldn't goddamn see anything. So since I couldn't see most of what was happening in the film, and the fact that they did that and then threw in the hints at the end that were like the pictures and stuff in the dark, and a newspaper article that we're supposed to be reading in the dark, it loses another point. So it's Amityville Trinket Box.
Yeah, basically what I said.
Yeah,
Hi.
but no, it's getting a 3, and no, I wouldn't recommend it because you can't watch it. It's literally unwatchable because most of the time you can't see anything. That's what I'm, and they didn't explain, like what we were just doing before, anything. There is no backstory behind any of it. That I mean, except for the one scene, but the necklace was there, and if we'd known more about it, or the witches and stuff, like Ron was saying, at least there would be a reason why things were the way they were. But it didn't give us any of that. So 3 and no. Yes, Trinket Box Flashlight Simulator. That would have been helpful.
Okay. Yes. Rod, how many necklaces would you give it, and would you recommend it?
I don't think I would give it a necklace. I think I would probably give it a pair of handcuffs and tell it to go straight to jail, do not pass go, and do not collect any profit on this movie.
Alrighty.
I don't know. That's probably not very fair because I still like to try to give some credit. So if this was a passion project for someone, or if it was their first foray into acting and maybe it helped them to get another role later on, then I guess the movie served its purpose. But I don't know that for a fact. But, you know, if you're willing to follow through on something and get it made, especially something as bold and as risky as this, then I guess props to you. I guess, kudos, good job, whatever. Hopefully your next project will not be as ambiguous. So sure, I guess, I think I'll go with Dell. I'm not going to give it the -1 or anything. I'll just give it a 4. And that's mainly because not even so much the fact that nothing was explained, which if it had been, I probably would have even given it a 5. But just the fact that there was nothing really outstanding in this movie to make it unique, to make it different from any other horror movies, because it was all the same stuff I've seen before and nothing was really new. If they had stepped up their game, done something, given me something different than something I'd seen before, then maybe I would have given it a 5. As far as referring it to somebody else, nah, probably not. I would say go watch Amityville Christmas Vacation and be entertained, at least. If you want something, that's schlocky, I guess. Class of Nukem High, maybe, which very schlocky something. But it's just, no, this movie doesn't really offer much. You don't really get the twist until the end, but then when you go back and think about it, you can kind of see where it was going, but it kind of fell flat. They just didn't explain enough to really push this movie over the top. So I can only give it a 4.
I could refer it to the CIA for use in enhanced
interrogation
interrogation.
techniques. Oh God. Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm going to go with the 5 necklaces because they tried. They tried to have a plot. Would I recommend it? No. No. I am trying to get myself away from the racist bull. Do I think that there are plot points in this movie that we collectively could take and make a better story? Yes. But also I know we would all leave that one particular aspect way behind in the past where it needs to stay because you know what? I know this is just. Mm-mm. So, yeah.
And I don't require a movie to be woke. I mean, racism is an issue, and particularly back then it was. It reminds me kind of like a John Saul story where they always start like in the past
Mhm,
and then the exact same situation happens in the future. So I mean
mhm.
it is relevant, but
Yes.
it it's something that a lot of people would dislike about it too. I can see that.
Yeah,
So
but that whole first 20 minutes of the movie could
that's
have been, truncated down, and you still would have gotten the
yeah.
gist of it, the same premise, without it being so long and drawn out, the take up an entire 20 minutes of the movie. But I mean, I guess if you're trying to pad your runtime, because let's face it, not really much happens after that first 20 minutes either.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go to the reviews.
Oh dear.
Funny you should say that.
Oh, come on. All right, let's do it.
Okay. So there were no 10-star reviews over on Prime. But there were some over on IMDb. So first of all, from Juliana R1, we have fantastic movie with 3 exclamation points. I saw this movie in the theater in Chicago, and I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised. Some horror films can go terribly wrong with audio, video, and the storyline, but mostly because of the actors. Good insight there, Juliana. This film
Wait,
was
wait. This
yes.
movie was shown in the theater?
Oh, yes. Okay, so this film was extremely well acted by the newcomers and veterans alike. I am certainly a huge fan of the amazing talent of Augie Duke and Barry Ratcliffe from Marvel's Hawkeye, but it was enthralled by the first 20 minutes of the film with the Davis family. Barry is a powerhouse actor, and his performance with the incredible Cindy Hogan, who plays his wife, really drew me in as I could feel every second of the emotions and, spoiler alert, the family pain and suffering. Judith, one of his daughters, played by Gracie Davis, is fantastic, but the standout has to be his youngest, Zaya Carlock. Wow, she is a superstar and will be one of the best actors of her generation. It was so much fun to watch a fresh and very good horror story. Thank you to the producers, Ekorie and Patricia, for this exciting, frightening thriller.
So that was written by somebody that probably worked on set.
What I noticed about this one is they only talked about the first 20 minutes of the movie. There is not a mention at all about anything that happened after the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Hmm.
So that's why I was saying when you were like, yeah, it'd be 20 minutes. It's like, well, this person thought that was the entire movie, apparently. So, so yeah, there's that. Um, I got, okay, from RVXXWVG, all lowercase there, equally touching and thrilling. In this film, there were many instances in which I was at the edge of my seat in anticipation of the next scene. The story was truly deep and well thought out, and the action kept my attention in a strong grip. I have to say that I can't wait for a part 2 because I have to know what happens next. There's a lot of twists and turns, but the film does a great job of leading audiences through the story with a great sense of urgency to the end. All in caps. I loved it. Couldn't recommend it enough. Check it out. Viewers of all ages will enjoy what Patricia and Ekorie have put together in this masterpiece of a film. Period! Exclamation point.
They must have been watching a different movie than us.
Okay, and then this is the one I'm going to end on. This is by Jacob underscore Weir. Best movie ever. Just watched this movie, thought it was amazing and scary, like a horror movie should be. Also, can't wait for a sequel. The movie did its job for a horror movie. The cast was amazing. The story was amazing. The set and props was amazing. When the old lady said towards the end of the movie there would be a next victim, I like how they continued the story and showed the new characters and show how some characters were acting possessed and crazy towards the end. All in all, the movie was one of the best horror movies out there, and I can't wait to see the next one. This movie was absolutely amazing and terrifying. I think they should have just titled that one Amazing.
Amazing. All right. What was the username on that one again?
Jacob_Weir.
Okay. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and there is a new thing called bot glazing. Are you familiar with this? This is using AI to make comments on videos just to pump up the video so that it gets more views. They're not comments that are made by actual people, but they
are what
say stuff
Amazon
like,
confuses all of us to be and takes them down because they're like, oh, you're a bot, even though we aren't, but those ones stay up.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like some of these reviews that you read are examples of bot glazing.
I love reading them, though. It's so fun, especially when the grammar is so terrible. And you
Well,
just
that one
like,
right there with repetitive use of amazing sounded like bot glazing to me.
yeah, and having like once like the just run on sentence with bad grammar, and it's just okay, and then we move on to the next part. But yes, so they thought it was amazing, and
Apparently.
yeah, I'm not gonna read
That
the
was
rest of it.
amazing spelled with an AI.
Yeah, some of the things are like, can't see a thing in the dark, boredom personified, a generally dull and plodding genre effort without much going for it. Dark scenes do not make it better. Watching water boil is more exciting. A small, boring, and too hard to see box.
This
These are
this is
all
what you
the
wrote, right? That's
no,
the
these
comments
are
you
all the
made.
titles of some of the other the lower things, the lower ratings. One of the most boring movies I've seen in a long time. So if that gives you an idea, there were a lot more of those than there were the 10 out of 10s. So yeah. So that's all I got.
Alrighty.
Oh, you know what I
Dude,
have to do? I
okay.
almost forgot. Okay, I gotta pull up the. It's time to spin the wheel.
Yes.
You can always tell the actual responses because everybody is usually in agreement. You know, the consensus is that it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
The consensus is they tried, we got bored and left.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready? To spin
Ready when
Sure.
you
the
are.
wheel. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Bing! It's online. Okay.
Shark bait.
Shark bait from 2022. All right. It was
I
I'm
really
working
hope
on
this is
finding out
another
things
one of
from-
those bad CGI sharks movies. That would be great.
It is to be.
Oh, why are we still over here?
I don't know.
That's weird.
Well,
There
that's
we go.
there you go.
Okay. It just they've made some changes to the screen things lately, guys. So forgive us. I've noticed a couple other shows been having some problems with some stuff too. But so it is to
Okay.
be.
It is to be.
Well, don't know anything about it, but sharks.
Hopefully they're bad
Uh,
CGI sharks that float through the air.
Basically, a group of friends steal some jet skis. They go for some rides. They get stranded, and something comes to eat them.
Hooray.
That's
Well,
about all
better
I
the
know.
sharks than just floating around waiting for the seagulls, you know.
Yeah. I wonder if you taste better or seagull. I don't plan on finding out, though. I don't plan on eating either.
Well, I would think humans probably taste better than seagulls because we don't have all the feathers.
But we have clothes.
Eh.
Okay, so long meat, but long pig is not on our menu for the night. Delphine, where do you want people to find you? And what is your favorite recipe?
Let's see. Go to Carrie Sanders, Kari, on Facebook. If you see this, that is me judging you. From there, you can find links to all of my different things. You'll find all my stuff here on the Owlite Network. You'll see me over on Splash Pages, which we record every Tuesday, but we are taking off tomorrow. It's the first, we've had like 13 guests in a row, so we're just going to have a day to breathe. But don't worry, because next week we're bringing on Michael fucking Walsh, guys. So super excited about that. Got some big stuff coming up with James Tinian. We're going to be talking about that. You can also see where the things that I write. There's links to my Amazon page. Follow it. Go check out what I wrote. See if you like it. Let me know. That's about it. You can follow me in other places, but all of the links you can get to from my Facebook.
Okay, what about your favorite recipe?
My favorite recipe, story behind this one. It involves speech to text, and it's terrible yet perfect. My mother was making beef bourguignon, and she was asking my sister if she and homemade French bread, and mom was like, I have finished some homemade French bread. I'm going to be doing, she was doing Granny Dash, bringing food around. I was like, would you like to have some to soak up the juices? And it ended up saying, to soak up the juices of this wonderful beef abortion instead of bourguignon. So we're going to go with a Julia Child recipe, bottle of wine, some mushrooms, onions, and then the meat of your choice.
Beef abortion.
Yes.
We're having beef abortion for dinner tonight.
Alrighty.
That was one of the best speech to text screw ups that I've ever seen in my life. We have it saved. It's there forever.
All right. Ron, where do you want people to find you, and what is your favorite recipe?
I don't really want people to find me. Just focusing on my work and not much else. Binge watching a lot of TV and a lot of junk food. So probably not a good time to find me. But, life of an author, I guess. I'm still not using Facebook all that much. I check it periodically, but I'm still not really posting on it, and nor on TikTok, which will probably be going away here shortly in another week. So find Jenny and she'll find me, because that's the way these things work, I guess. But you can go to my author page on Facebook and get my book and make me very happy, and buy many copies of it and pass them out to your friends and family and teach your pets to read. And, maybe there should be some kind of a non-profit charity organization to teach pets to read. I think that would be a good cause. Then, they could have nightmares too from reading my stories. So it's always a good thing, when you can inspire and induce nightmares in other people. So I'm slowly working on mastering that craft. As far as my favorite recipe, I'll go with my current drink recipe for the orgasmic wave. Vodka, Malibu rum, pineapple juice, and Monster. And I like putting the rum chata in it because it makes it look like egg drop soup. Or the rum chata, it kind of breaks up into these little cream globules, which makes it look like somebody spunked in your drink, which, it's an orgasmic wave. So it sort of fits the title. But it's a rather tasty drink, and I'll probably be doing that again this weekend. I don't have the rum chata, but the drink by itself is pretty good. And I do find that I prefer the Monster over the Mountain Dew, so I call it the Monster Orgasmic Wave, which I think, it's still pretty on brand. So yeah, if you come down to Hell's Dungeon for the Easter event, I'm pretty sure I'll be packing, and I'll give everybody a Monster Orgasmic Wave.
Rat Oscar's like, can you mail me one? She doesn't
Yeah,
mix drinks
right.
for me. She only gives me bottles.
Okay.
I'll put a care package.
Next month, these two comes out on the one on this side. Yep, that's fantastic. Ron and I are in. On the one on this side, Pile and Chaos are in. And on Friday, Thursday or Friday, I'm not sure, but on one of those 2 days, we are doing Bloody Binge podcast with Nothing But Trouble and whatever haunt or other news that he finds that we are sharing. On Friday at my usual time, we are having Lily Lucelli, a amazing author and editor and so many other things. She wears so many hats, it's not funny. Amazing lady. We get to find out more about her. I am so excited. And definitely on the 18th and 19th at Hell's Dungeon, they are doing the 420 haunt. You guys are going to have the best time ever. Please go check them out. They will be amazing.
Yep, you have to come. You have to show up.
And
It'll be a good time.
are we one more thing, because I can't remember if we are in the middle or what. Okay. There is no chainers this week. So yeah, I didn't forget anything. I couldn't remember if I forgot something. But yeah, that should be everything. Please come back Friday for our 2 podcasts. And I hope you guys have the best week ever. Thank you for coming.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Mwah.
Happy trails to you.